It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome everyone into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. And ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, every time I turn on my system and you don't get loud audio crackling and just tech issues, I'm thankful because, tech issues, they're the worst. And it just hit me this morning. I don't know if it was the early coffee. I don't know if I just woke up on the right side of the bed, but man, not having tech issues, what a great feeling that is. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome into Computer America. I hope that you can share my sentiment. And if not, hey, don't worry. We have something to take your mind off it. We have the one, the only, Mr. Ralph Bond. He is our science and tech trends correspondent. He'll be joining us today to talk about 4 different stories that, should really pique your interest. Everything from plastic pollution solutions. There we go. I got it. To ghost particles. There's really not much that our science and tech trends correspondent doesn't cover. And of course, they're going to be stories that you probably haven't heard, because let's face it, there's a few world events going on that are really dominating the headlines, but we got some happier stuff to talk about. So we'll get to that in just a moment. ComputerAmerica.com. That's where you'll find everything, including past shows, future shows, show notes, articles, really anything that we do here at Computer America, you can find it at our website. And of course, you can find past shows. We have a whole section dedicated to Ralph right at the top. You can click his little corner and it will have his latest show as well as previous shows. And as I usually say, the past shows are, they were recorded in the past, but at the same time, they're probably covering stuff that hasn't even come to fruition. Like they're very future proof. So if you feel like you want to go back and do that, it's always a lot of fun. So with that being said, let's go ahead, bring Ralph on and get today's show started. So Ralph Bond, longtime Computer America correspondent, and of course, I think we've whittled it down to our favorite segment, which is science and technology trends. So Ralph, welcome back onto the program. How you doing?
Hey, it's great to be back, and I wish I were future-proof. That would be a good thing.
With over the years, with as much surgeries I think as you've gone through, you might be bionic. You haven't done the ratios lately, so
yeah, that's it. I'm still here.
There you go. So everyone, and of course Ralph, he has a lot of fun stories, and we look forward to getting to this. Yep. But Ralph, for all of our new listeners, would you introduce yourself?
Yes. Well, first of all, welcome if you're new to the show. Every Friday, usually, Ben and I try to bring to you uplifting and positive stories from the world of science and technology, everything from robotics, medical technology, sustainable energy technology, transportation advances, space research, physics, you name it, across the board. And the key here is, given the horrors that are going on in the world every day, this is a place to be inspired and to get hope about where we're going thanks to technology and research. And as Ben mentioned, please come out to computeramerica.com. Get the show notes for today's show because it'll have the notes that I'm going to use and read to you from the articles that we picked. And it'll have all the links so you can dive in deeper, because I want to stress that what Ben and I are going to do here is just sort of skip a stone across the water of each one of these articles. If you want to dive deep, we have the links for you. And I also embed additional links if there's something that I think needs further explanation, etc. So we've got some fun stories today for you, starting off with a really wild and crazy one, another accidental discovery that might help the world.
Yeah. And of course, leading into story number 1, for those who watch the video portion, you can see it there. For everyone else, Ralph's about to read the title. But, I've often heard that this generation, I guess the generation before, there were a lot of defining features. The invent of mass media with radio and television. There's the invent of the automobile. There's a lot of great innovations that really mark a period of time. And I've heard that modern historians say that this time that we live in is going to be marked by the usage of plastic. It's going to be an indelible mark that we have left on the planet, probably. And it has so many uses. It's so ubiquitous. You can't get away from it. So I guess, we are the generation of plastic, but that doesn't mean it has to be like a bad thing. And hopefully story 1 starts to help with that.
Well, yeah, Ben, it's a great setup for the story. The headline here is researchers accidentally discover mind-blowing new technology to tackle plastic pollution. And it was a surprise. Got this from Yahoo News. It was covered elsewhere as well, too, of course. A story by Leo Collis. And again, in the show notes, we have the link and everything else for you if you want to dive deeper. And this is a good reminder. Every once in a while you hear this, but you kind of forget. Penicillin, Velcro, matches, microwaves, and X-rays are some of the many life-changing discoveries that were stumbled upon by accident. Now you can add, I love this, now you can add vegan spider silk to that list. It might just help solve the worldwide problem of single-use plastic pollution. Now, forewarning here, that headline is a bit far-reaching and a little bit over-optimistic, but nonetheless, you can't resist things like vegan spider silk. I mean, that's wonderful.
It's almost like a Starbucks add-in, just a little bit of vegan spider silk in the coffee. Thank you. That'd be good. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. So when studying protein formation and interactions, scientists from the University of Cambridge became interested in the strength of spider silk despite its weak molecular bonds. So this is the kind of mystery, if you will, of spider silk. Very strong, of course, as we all know. It can hold up under tremendous wind power. If you've seen spider webs in action, it's remarkable. But they actually have weak molecular bonds. So scientists are going, wait a minute, how's that happen? What's making that work? So that's the background for what they were doing. So while trying to replicate the bond formation using soy protein isolate, they created a product that looks similar to plastic, but can be made from plant proteins, hence vegan. Not only is the material water resistant and durable, but it's also fully compostable. Well, what's wrong with that scenario? That's great, right?
And for those watching the video portion, if you go to the link that you supplied in the show notes, it's a link within the link in the article that you submitted, Ralph, and you can see some of the products that are available there. So that's why they're showing like the boxes and like the single-use items wrapped in plastic. Yeah, and honestly, it looks just like plastic.
I know. This is very, very encouraging. So according to the lead scientist on the project, quote, this is the culmination of something we've been working on for over 10 years, which is understanding how nature generates materials from proteins. Again, that was the base research motive. And this is a surprise discovery. We didn't set out to solve sustainability challenges, he goes on to say. We were motivated by curiosity as to how to create strong materials from weak interactions, or weak molecular bonds is what the reference back to original spider silk is. And the research had primarily been conducted to discover how the behavior of proteins relates to human health and disease, particularly Alzheimer's. Isn't that remarkable? In the process, they created a material that boasts a performance equivalent to high-performance engineering plastics such as low-density polyethylene. Now, in collaboration with the University of Cambridge, there's a spin-out company called Xampla, Xampla, Xampla. And the material is set to be commercialized. And there's a image embedded in the show notes showing one of the researchers holding up a sheet of this material they've created. And again, Ben, to your point, it looks just like the saran wrap or whatever that you use to wrap foods in. And by the end of this year, a range of vegan spider silk single-use, that's the key here, single-use sachets, for example. And I had to go, wait a minute, I need a reminder. What's a sachet? Well, it's a small perfumed bag used to scent clothes. Who knew? I didn't. And capsules. So they're looking at making capsules. And Ben was showing a picture of some of the other products and packaging that they're going to be doing. They predict that they'll be able to roll this out this year, which could be used. These little containers, these little wrapper-like things, could be used for dishwasher and laundry tablets you know, the little packets that you can put in your dishwasher. They're saying, hey, we can make this out of this vegan silk stuff. Wow. Great. And material has other possible applications, such as acting as a replacement for some types of plastic packaging, as your image you're showing the viewers demonstrates. And here's Exampla's mission statement. Our breakthrough technology works with existing manufacturing processes and equipment. That's key, existing, to deliver natural and biodegradable materials that replace the most polluting plastics. Good for business and the planet. Amen.
and you know, reading some of their other products that Exampla, however you say that, that they kind of work with. If you go to really any grocery store, they have like those little cardboard, you know, boxes that you use to package your food instead of the plastic clamshells. They're the little cardboard boxes with the little lids. That's what they make. So, you know, they're already in an industry where they're building to scale packaging for consumers and everyday objects. And to kind of say that we're going to, you know, work with another product that's hopefully going to replace more plastic. I mean, these solutions, and of course there has to be how expensive is this going to be, and all that good stuff. But the fact that they already have someone who's willing to use it, you know, and put it into the market, that's a lot further than a lot of other products that we talk about here on the show kind of get. So someone's already putting their company behind it and hopefully getting it out to consumers. So
that's a good point.
Yeah,
Ben, by the way,
perfect. Mm-hmm.
By the way, Ben, the issue about making this real, they stress again, they can use existing manufacturing processes and equipment. So sometimes we talk about things where it's a great technology, has a lot of promises, but it means it says to an industry, well, you're going to have to throw away all your current equipment because it's going to have to be replaced with this kind of equipment. No, they're saying in the plastics industry, the raw material, this vegan spider silk, can be incorporated into your existing equipment. That is a key for the potential success and deployment of this technology. We'll see. And it's fun. It's really cool.
As someone who really advocates for animal well-being, I am so glad that no spiders were harmed in the making of these things. That's very nice that they were able to make it vegan, because Ralph, I'm sure you can imagine the uproar if this was not vegan spider silk, but just spider silk and all those poor little spiders. And I joke, but obviously if you were to use actual spiders, the production would probably be nothing near what it would need to be to use at scale. So,
and here's something kind of ironic, considering it's vegan spider silk, where spiders are far from vegan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a fun story all around, like you said, and I like that it was like an accident, and that's a very fun part of it. It's like they were researching Alzheimer's, and then they're like, "Oops, created plastic. My bad." Like science works in weird ways, and I can't even explain it. So
gotta love it.
Story number one, and by the way, there's more to that story, so please go check out the show notes. Story number two. This is going to be in Ralph's backyard. I'm sure he just went outside and just said, "Hey, what's going on?" And someone said, "Here, Ralph, here's story number two." So I'm sure that's how he found this one. But this is cool.
Yeah, in fact, what Ben is referencing, I'm in the Portland, Oregon area, out in Hillsboro, out in Intel land, where we have many of our big fabs and all that kind of good stuff. And this is a Northwest story. So is the one about the flying car we're going to get to in a minute here. But headline here is Pacific Northwest National Laboratory researchers search for ghost particles. Well, that's great. And by the way, a couple of words about the national laboratory here, the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. I like to call it the MIT of the Northwest, because the range of research these men and women are doing there in Washington State, by the way, is absolutely stunning. Week after week after week, I can't report on all of their stuff, but please get familiar with them. In the show notes, we have links. You can go and find out about these people. Again, I call them the MIT of the Northwest. Well, anyway, with that said, this story comes from their lab's website, from their news outlet, story written by Stephen Ashby. And here we go. At the Department of Energy's Pacific Northwest National Laboratory in Washington State, scientists seek to detect and measure neutrinos, the plentiful, quote unquote, ghost particles that pass through concrete and humans without making an impact. Oh, folks, Get ready for really weird, geeky stuff coming up here. Researchers at the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory and elsewhere study neutrinos because they offer a glimpse of cosmic events that occurred billions of years ago. The very concept of neutrinos is hard to imagine. Believe me, is it ever? Neutrinos travel at almost the speed of light. What? Have no electrical charge? What? And weigh nearly nothing. Triple. What? And billions, and billions of them, billions are passing through us right now through me and Ben and all of you and everything else. As creepy as that may sound, these mysterious subatomic particles could hold the key to understanding the origins of matter. I love that sentence blew my mind.
I love that science has gotten to the point where it's like, we measure what we can see, we measure what we can infer, and we've gotten to the point where we're measuring and seeing and, capturing these things, or, at least measuring these things that, like you said, no weight, no sight, no nothing really. And they're still like, yep, they exist. Science has come very far. Yeah. It's very cool.
Yeah. And you'll see as we go forward, this is really all about trying to improve the way we can detect these crazy ghost particles, aka neutrinos. And the part that blew my mind in that last paragraph was understanding the origins of matter. And so that sent me off on a tangent. First of all, just stop for a moment and think, wait a minute, you're telling me, scientists, that there was a period of time, maybe billions and billions and billions, when there wasn't matter? What?
About 13.7, yeah.
Think about how weird that is. Anyway, and with that weird thing in mind, and you can read this as an optional thing in the show notes, I have a little timeout. How was matter created? And it's all related in theory to the Big Bang Theory and so on and so forth. You can read that. There's some links in there to reference an article on this topic if you want to dive into that. But going back to our story here, detecting the presence of neutrinos is a daunting challenge. That's the key here. That's what these scientists are all about. One that requires a team effort. And Ben, I'm a huge fan of team science research.
Cooperation is big on Ralph's list.
It is. Get a load of this. Joining more than 1,700 scientists from 38 countries, the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory researchers are part of, and you're going to love this. You're going to love this acronym. Part of the Deep Underground Neutrino Experiment, or DUNE. Gotta love it, right? Deep Underground Neutrino Experiment, or DUNE. This project focuses on building ultra-sensitive neutrino detectors. Wow. And DUNE receives a beam of neutrinos from the Fermi National Accelerator Laboratory near Chicago, then sends it through a detector, and then on to a much larger detector, 800 miles away in South Dakota. This is so freaky weird stuff. You got to love it. Led by the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory scientists, the researchers' latest design increases the detector's sensitivity to neutrinos that are not produced as part of the experiment. The part that I didn't quite get is that are not produced by part of the experiment. I wasn't quite sure where that was going, but nonetheless, what they're talking about is a big advance in detecting neutrinos is what they've achieved. And informed by computer simulations, their design employs shielding, background radioactivity mitigation, and enhanced light detection to improve the measurements to permit study of neutrinos from, for example, supernova or the sun. And again, as the show notes call out here, please, if you find this interesting, go to the show notes, go to computeramerica.com, get the show notes. You can dig deeper because believe me, we just barely scratched the surface of this topic.
Yep. So, we can even just use AI for this. I just, searched it up on Google real quick. Yes, neutrinos can be created in a lab. Scientists have been creating neutrino beams with proton accelerators for over 50 years. So the Large Hadron Collider and stuff like that, the particle accelerators can create neutrinos. So Ralph, I think what they're saying is they want to detect, the ambient, the all around us, not created by human neutrinos, to understand where they came from. And of course, like you said, the beginning of the universe is probably, the culprit.
So weird.
Yep. So we can create neutrinos, but hey, it's I think kids today, I'm going to do one of those moments. Static on television, isn't really a thing that they, do anymore because everything is digital. But, that static, all that background radiation from the Big Bang, like that we even hear today, there's a lot to understand about that. And, what happened, was it 13.7 billion years ago or something like that?
Well, the Big Bang,
still hard to understand. It's very, very cool. And that's amazing research as well. So I like that one a lot. And
very freaky.
Yep. Good on the Department of Energy. I don't say that often. Good on the Department of Energy. So
yay. Yes.
Story number 2, story number 3. And the dreams of flying cars have been around for, well, I think as long as there have been cars, Ralph, and as long as there has been like more than one car, it's what we call traffic. People have dreamed of a scenario where they can just take their car and just fly away, just get out of traffic.
Yep.
Story number 3 gives you the option, but it's closer to reality than I think a lot of other cars. So.
Yeah, this is fun. And this is another Northwest related story because the company we're going to talk about that's making this flying car is an Oregon-based company. So where I am. So that's kind of cool. Actually, I picked up this story from a publication called Metro in the United Kingdom, a story by Dean Murray, and the headline was 160,000 pounds, so that would be $170,000, roughly speaking, US dollars. Flying car you must build yourself, sails through first flight. So they made their first maiden flight of this contraption.
I get so I'm not gonna say I get like white knuckled flying from A to B, but like I am, after takeoff, I'm like, okay, good. We didn't all crash and burn. That's good. And then like as soon as the wheels touch down and like we're not skidding out of control, I'm like, okay, good. We're not going to die this time. If I have to put together my own plane, I don't know if I trust myself, Rob. I've put together IKEA furniture that had 4 pieces that I had to redo. I don't know about that.
Yes, that's true. You're right. If you put this thing together and you go, wait a minute, I've got these pieces left over.
Like, I don't think this end table is supposed to be leaning this way. I don't know.
From what I've understood in researching this, these people have really figured all of that out. Good. I think it's pretty, relatively speaking, foolproof. Okay. And there's some great videos when you go to their website. I've got a link in the show notes that are just really compelling. A whole series of videos. So here we go. Let's get into the story. It says $170,000 US flying car you can park in your home garage has achieved its first flight very recently. The Samson Sky Switchblade, so the craft is called Switchblade, soared to an altitude of 500 feet during its maiden flight in Washington state recently. Oregon-based Samson announced on Thursday, November the 9th, that veteran test pilot Robert Moll flew above the airport and surrounding foothills, remaining airborne for nearly 6 minutes before lightly touching down to Earth. So this was the very first maiden flight of this vehicle. The highly anticipated 2-seater has already received 2,300 reservations from 57 countries and all 50 states in the United States. Wow. I mean, a lot of people are putting their faith into this thing.
Yeah.
The Switchblade is a 3-wheel street legal vehicle able to be parked in your garage. The owners drive to it. The concept is you would drive to a nearby airport where the wings swing out and the tail extends in under 3 minutes. The aircraft can then be flown to the airport nearest your final destination at up to 200 miles per hour and within a range of 450 miles.
That's not bad.
And they say this thing, you could take it up to 13,000 feet if you wanted to in terms of altitude. And then upon landing, users transform the flying sports car back into driving mode, the wings and tails safely stowed and protected, and drive to their final destination. And I love those videos, folks. They're really fun. Come out to computeramerica.com, get the show notes, get the link, go and check out these videos. They're really a hoot.
You're going to draw a lot of attention driving this thing around the roads. Like not even it's not even flying.
Yeah.
And it's quite the eye catcher.
It's a weird looking thing, but it's quite a remarkable stunt of engineering, I guess you could say. So each Switchblade comes in a do-it-yourself kit form, which includes the engine, transmission, avionics, interiors, and Samson Builder Assist program. Maybe that's the part that helps you avoid the leftover parts IKEA problem we were talking about.
Yes.
The Samson team will use their team is planning to use flight test data to finalize production engineering and build several production prototypes. And the Switchblade comes in 2 kit types. $170,566 version that permits a pilot to operate in clear weather conditions, and then an upgraded $196,384 model that can fly under different weather conditions, including into clouds and with zero visibility. It's so fascinating to me. There's 2 versions, and that part, I wonder what is the difference that makes it possible to fly in terrible weather and not fly, or interesting.
The thing that immediately jumps to my mind is some kind of radar sensor or something that could detect your altitude or whatever. It's something with zero visibility, and it can detect the ground is so far away, there's objects coming, stuff like that.
Yeah, interesting, huh? And the vehicle has a unique hybrid electric system which uses regular unleaded auto gas rather than leaded aviation fuel. So in terms of just availability of fuel, no problemo when it comes to the fossil fuel part of the hybrid equation. And while a private pilot's license is required to fly the Switchblade, Samson Sky Company says they are seeing reservations coming in from non-pilots who plan to learn to fly once they get their hands on the craft. On the company's website, FAQ, there's an answer to the question, when do you expect to be in production? And the answer is, we expect to have the Samson Builder Assist assembly line ready about 22 months after first flight. So the first flight happened, what was it, November the 9th, I believe. So basically, a smidge under 2 years from now. So there you go. Pretty cool, huh?
So maybe by the end of 2025, early 2026 is what we're kind of looking at.
It's freaky weird.
And the images are all very cool. If you're watching, they kind of had like drone footage of this thing sitting in like a driveway and whatnot. Ralph, I gotta say that, like, fun concept. The idea of a flying car, again, appeals to so many people. But of course, the idea of also getting your pilot's license to fly your flying car, not as appealing, because that takes a lot of money. It's not cheap to get that.
And time.
Yeah, time and money. You're right. It's like thousands of hours. So with that being said, though, I gotta say, this in this video, I'm not sure exactly when it was posted for this video in particular. The Switchblade flying car designer shows vehicle transformation with drone footage listed on their site. But I gotta say, some things that are kind of setting off alarm bells, and I'm sure they want to get the flight down. I'm sure that they want to get the thing in the air as
right.
That's probably paramount, and the car is like secondary. I'm guessing they're thinking, if it can fly, we can make it be a car. That's not really that hard. I got to say, though, Ralph, personally, there was a whole lawsuit that we covered a couple of years ago with Tesla. I'm sorry, not Tesla, Nikola. Nikola makes giant electric vehicles. And they showed a video to their investors of a Nikola vehicle driving down the road or the highway. I don't know if you remember that, Ralph.
Right.
It was slightly inclined. So they... everyone assumed it was driving on its own power. It was actually just rolling down the hill.
My gosh.
It was not capable of driving itself. So when I see videos like this, like now I'm kind of keyed into that. So the first thing that kind of sticks out to me, Ralph, is this thing is sitting on 2x4s to keep it from rolling away. So there's no functioning brakes on this thing, is kind of what I'm picking up.
Interesting. Wow. Very observant.
You can see that here as well, where it kind of comes out of the garage. And here, it's rolling downhill.
Oh, so, going downhill.
And then there's the 2x4 right there, kind of sitting in front of it and all the wheels.
Why do they need that? That's very good observation, because you would think they would just have a handbrake or something. I mean, come on, what's that? Yeah, that's interesting.
I think that the car is pretty threadbare. And again, I think that they're trying to get the plane part done before they start working on the car part.
Good point.
So I'm sure that they're doing all that. But still, I mean... amazing looking car. They have plenty of pre-sales. People are very interested in this. But 2 years seems ambitious. So, we can retouch on this in 2 years, but that seems
there you go. In 2 years, we'll check it out. That's a great point.
And, so we'll see.
You know what? And Ben, like so many technologies kind of like this that you and I have covered over the years, I always kind of go to, how much is it really for the individual person, the regular Joe and Sally citizen, to play around with this thing?
Right.
Versus, could it be something that rescue teams could use, flight medics,
more specialized industry,
special military, other things of this nature? That's where I think it's kind of interesting. And I agree with you. The part about driving this thing around on the roads and streets and so forth is less than the simplicity or the attractiveness of a vehicle that can go on a road surface, but also very quickly transform into a flying vehicle and then go back to something that drives on a road, could have huge appeal to the military or search and rescue or all those kinds of things.
So, and maybe someone who has their pilot's license and, kind of flies. Actually, we have a correspondent that actually flies recreationally. I'm wondering if, kind of like stabling a horse or something like that, Ralph. I'm wondering if renting space in a hangar costs a lot of money. And if you could take this home, park it in your garage, and then drive to the airport and fly when you want to, even for recreational aviation.
There you go.
It would be a game changer. It really would. So
that's smart.
A lot to like here. A lot to like and a lot to be a little skeptical of, but still, it's a very, very fun story. And just the fact that it transforms in real time is always fun.
Yes.
So story number 3.
Cool.
Yep, for sure. Story number 3. Story number 4. Let's. This will be the last story of the day, but still, this is something a little bit different because glasses, as I should know, I spent most of my life with glasses. They solve a lot of problems, but they can only do so much. Well, hey, it turns out for the completely blind, glasses still may be the answer. And this is so cool. So story number 4.
Great setup for this story. Headline here is glasses provide audible prompts for blind wearers. And again, by the way, folks, a lot of times Ben and I end our Friday segments with something from the medical field, medical technology advancements, because it's near and dear to all of our hearts because it has to do with our bodies. So here we go. Got this story from medgadget.com. Wonderful website and an equally wonderful author, Conn Hastings. I've done many of his stories over the years. Great. So anyway, here's the story. A team at the University of Technology, Sydney, in Australia, of course, has developed an assistive technology for blind people and those with low vision. Excuse me. The system consists of glasses that can view their surroundings through an onboard camera. Then it can appraise the objects nearby using computer vision technology and then play a sound that provides a cue for the wearers as to what this object is that they're seeing in front of them. And the scientists call these sounds sound icons, which I thought is really clever. Could include a rustling sound when leaves are viewed, or a small bark when a dog appears, as an example. Isn't that something? The technology could offer additional information on the environment for low vision wearers and assist with daily tasks, low vision and or completely blind. The latest technology is somewhat kind of conceptually akin to the echolocation used by bats, although it relies on computer vision rather than sound waves to identify objects. However, sound is still used to communicate the identity of the viewed object in the form of sound icons. And Chin Teng Lin, I hope I'm saying that correctly, one of the creators of the new system noted, quote, smart glasses typically use computer vision and other sensory information to translate the wearer's surrounding into computer synthesized speech. However, and I love this phrase, acoustic touch technology sonifies objects, creating unique sound representations as they enter the device's field of view. Wow. For example, the sound we mentioned before, the sound of rustling leaves might signify a plant, or a buzzing sound might represent a mobile phone. And so far, the researchers have tested the glasses with 14 participants. Of this group, half of the participants were blind or low-sighted, and the other half were fully sighted but wore a blindfold for the duration of the tests. The glasses allow the wearers to successfully identify and grasp objects that were present within the field of view of the system, meaning the glasses. And at the end here, I've got a link to the full-on scientific study that was published for this research. You can check that out. And you can also, there's a link there to the University of Technology, Sydney, which is a fascinating thing. And the Australians, salute to you guys down under. You guys are doing amazing time and time again, Ben, right? There's so much they're doing in solar energy, all these kinds of things. Wow, the Australians are really on fire in terms of technology.
And luckily not actually on fire. That's also
true.
a problem that Australia's been struggling with. But you're right. They actually do have a lot of research into high technology. Yep. Of course, you think being so far removed from Europe and America and other places that we consider where universities are. Although China does a lot of research, tons of research as well. Of course. But Australia by a country by itself and a lot of its universities are some of the best out there for technology. I don't know, something about this is like just adding the sound cues. I'm wondering how much more effective that is than like they were describing, where the computer would just scan the environment and just kind of like audibly say there's a small table, there's a
that's a good point.
A sink or whatever. Like instead of just saying words, they give you those audio cues. I guess like going around your room or going around your home as someone who is blind, and like let's say you just want to water your plant and be able to just kind of swing your head side to side, and then you can kind of key in on where your house plant is. Something like that I guess would be much more really goes to show, just as myself, Ralph, like I think like most people, we take our sight for granted, and it's hard for me to imagine how living without sight is kind of plays out.
So. You raise a good point about whether these kind of sonic cues, as they call them, the rustling leaf sound and that sort of thing, versus just saying to the user, plant,
right,
10 meters, plant 5 meters as you're walking. That kind of thing. But I also think maybe spoken word prompts might be too distracting or something. I'm not sure. They must have had a reason for settling on the idea of sonic icons. Yeah. So, but you raise a really good point.
Probably that, because I guess if you're swinging your head around and something that's like plant, table, bowl, chair, sofa, and it's just going crazy. So maybe the sounds make a lot of sense. So there you go. Story number 4.
Maybe.
And Ralph, for anyone out there who's checking out the show notes as we speak, because obviously by the time people hear this, the show notes will have been up. They may notice that, hey, the fun doesn't end at story number 4. There's more. So if you'd like to just quickly run through the honorable mentions.
Yeah, well, with the holiday season coming up and gift buying for kids, we've got some great links and stories for best science toys for kids. So please check that out. And some of them are very modestly priced. So it's not going to be hundreds and hundreds of dollars, not at all. And so we got that there for you in the honorable mentions at the end of the show notes. Some other fun stories. This new solar powered car can travel up to 1,000 miles on a single charge, and its exterior is stronger than steel. Better check that one out. It's pretty cool. And another one here, doctors perform, the imagery for this is painful. Doctors perform first ever whole eye partial face transplant. What?
I saw that one. That one actually made a lot of headlines. That was very amazing.
Very cool. Mm-hmm. Very cool. Poor man had this terrible accident. Anyway, and then coatings made from a wood byproduct can keep your glasses and windshields clear. Oh, my Lord. How many times have you had your glasses on? You're working in the yard or something. They fog up. So this is if you're in that camp, which I think a lot of the world is, check this story out. So those are some of we call them honorable mentions. You can go and check out, get the show notes at computeramerica.com, and away you go.
Perfect. Yep. They're all right there. And like you said, there's a lot of fun stories. And I especially like the toy buying gift, the toy idea, because, I'm sure a lot of people have gifts to buy for young ones. And, you can only buy them the latest